My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 268 of Legally Clueless. This is what's coming out a little later in this episode.
After joining K24 Media House, I think the internship, or rather the attachment, was initially supposed to go for 3 months. So I did a month. And then towards the end of the second month, I started getting serious headaches. Like serious headaches, guys. And when I say headaches, I don't mean headaches on the frontal lobe of the head. I'm talking about the back of the head. Headaches where you feel like someone is just banging your head with a hammer. And it was so loud, yet it was so silent. I was the only one who could understand what exactly I'm going through.
That's Vivian's story, and we're going to get to it in a bit. But first, I hope you're doing really well, to be quite frank. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you are an OG member from back in the day, I truly appreciate you. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome to the family. Episodes like this go out every single Monday. And if you head over to our website, which is legallycluelessafrica.com, it's in the show notes, you can sign up to officially join the fam and get letters from me. You can watch our 4 seasons of our video series and watch our tour series as well, which I'll talk about in a bit because there's something fresh coming up on that front. But before we get there, I did want to share one thing that I think many of us battle with, and that's guilt-free rest. So if you don't know, we recently just came back from a 3-country tour. And because of the adrenaline and the excitement, I think I really underestimated just how tired the experience was and how disruptive it was, even just in terms of like what I eat. Because, for example, I'm really, really trying to, and this is a problem maybe not many people face, they face the opposite. I'm trying to put on weight, right? And because of my high metabolism, I need to eat consistent meals. Sometimes I genuinely forget to eat a meal. And once that happens for a couple of consecutive days, my weight just sheds off. Any gains I've made can go in a matter of days, and it's the most painful thing. That's what happened on the tour, because obviously you're now not on your usual schedule and you're up and down. Sometimes there's enough time between shoots to grab lunch. Sometimes you're shooting the eating of the lunch, and so you're kind of like rushing through it or rushing to the next set. And so that's meant I have dropped a size down, but it also disrupted like my resting, because you're shooting throughout the day. When you get back to the hotel, you are trying to catch up on other work that might not be related to the tour, because other parts of the business have to keep moving. And then there's my individual work, and I'm also setting up another business at the same time. So it becomes a bit hectic to kind of juggle all these things in a new routine, in a new place. Oh my goodness. So when I came back, we partnered with Mastercard Foundation on this tour. And I remember telling their team, oh, don't worry, give me like 1 day to just like reset and sleep, and then we can have a meeting, etc. And they're so smart, because they were just like, 1 day, okay. After the 1 day, I was not rested. And like, I called them laughing. I was like, what the hell was I on, thinking I needed 1 day? And they were like, no, we know. Like, we thought you were just being very ambitious. And so I kind of needed to let myself rest a bit. I remember telling my team member, Mercy, hey, just make sure the 2 weeks now that I'm back are light, because I need to kind of let my mind reset and rest. And this is probably the first time I have not felt guilty about resting. Well, that's a good thing. At the back of my head, I'm like, I hope it's because you know you deserve rest regardless, and not because, oh, I worked so hard, I deserve to rest. And I'll tell you a quote I came across that really put into perspective how important rest is, and might help you let go of the guilt that comes with just resting. And the quote is, rest isn't the reward you get for hard work, but it's actually the fuel that drives you to do the hard work. So it's not the reward, it's the fuel. And when you think about it like that, you kind of rewire what we've been socialized to believe about rest, where you couldn't sleep in. I think all of us had parents barge into our rooms like, get up at like 6 a.m. or whatever. Maybe you were just tired. You just needed to rest. You know what I mean? And you kind of had to work to earn the right to rest. And we carry this very problematic thought process with us into our adulthood when it comes to even just like shaming yourself out of rest and guilt tripping yourself out of rest. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough, am I working hard enough? And I'm human. I slip up and compare myself to other people, especially now that I'm an entrepreneur. It's a space I haven't really been in before. And so I find myself comparing myself to more established businesses and wondering if I am putting in enough hours. Am I doing enough? And so those thoughts normally creep in when I'm trying to rest. And it's because of years of being socialized to believe that rest is earned. Like, you have to work very hard to earn the right to rest. But I'm also very aware that I have to be careful about ensuring my body is rested. Last year, and I think I spoke about this a couple of podcast episodes ago, about last year when I couldn't sleep, and I had an entire mental breakdown and ended up being diagnosed with low functioning depression. And the core, like what blew my mind, the core of that happening was I wasn't resting. I wasn't sleeping. And my doctor kept saying, we're not starting antidepressants because I feel like if I fix your sleep, I'm fixing everything. And once we did that, every time I go for any follow-up checkups, she's always like, we have established you need to sleep. And so whenever those thoughts that guilt me away from rest come in, I just remember how hectic that period last year was and how, oh my goodness, it was terrible. It was terrible. It strained my friendships, my relationships, oh my goodness. So I always think about that and I'm like, I'm a rest. So anyway, I just wanted to share that in case, like me, sometimes you shame yourself when you rest, or you don't know how to have guilt-free rest. That quote, I came across it this week and I was like, I'm going to have to share this with you. The second thing I want to share before we jump into the story in this episode is we have officially closed the guest list for our private screening of our East Africa tour premiere. And I'm really excited to meet all of you who wrote in. And I think we got a couple of people's details and we'll be sending you out stuff this week. And I'm excited to meet you and just share this moment with you. We worked very hard on this project. I'm very glad we're celebrating it together. And for everybody else who may not have managed to get on the guest list, our East Africa tour premieres online on our YouTube channel on the 10th of May. So make sure you subscribe ASAP. A link to our YouTube is in the show notes so that you can journey with us across Uganda, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. It was so beautiful. I met so many amazing people. I did so many expanding activities. And I learned so much about African culture that I just can't wait to share with you. So yes, 10th of May on our YouTube channel for everybody who can't make it to the premiere or did manage to write in before we closed our guest list. Because the screening is very intimate and we have other creators who are going to be coming through, etc. So we couldn't have everybody. But 10th of May is going to be quite an exciting time for us. So I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, I really am. On with the dates. Because we're family here, so I just need to share these dates with you so you can align your calendars. Our next wellness talk is on the 25th of May, okay? And it's going to be led by our resident therapist, Faith. We're going to share the theme pretty soon, but just know 25th of May is our next wellness talk. Our wellness talks are virtual, so wherever you are in the world, you can plug into them. And I'm also excited to share that our group therapy sessions are resuming in June 2024. And we have a new model. We kind of works on the feedback we got last year. Last year, we took 200 people through our group therapy sessions. And this year, we're kind of like reworking it. We've reworked the themes. Trust me, it is going to be so transformative. I'm so proud of the structure that we have for this year's group therapy session. So June 2024, make sure you sign up for our newsletter so that you can be the first to know about all of these cool things that we're up to here as a family. Okay, let's jump into the story, Vivian's story. And I think it speaks to trusting your body. And sometimes you find yourself having to trust your body even over doctors. And Vivian's journey in this space started with a never-ending headache. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Vivian Bosiboriobino. To be honest with you, this is the second time I am telling this story. And the fact that I have had to relive it before, it has only given me more strength, and it has only made me more brave to talk about it and also heal from it. So I was born in Kisii to a mother and a father. And then later on, a few years later, when I was 8, I did lose my father. So basically, the early years are such a blur. I think the only record I have of my father is just him coming home after a long week of work, because he used to work in a totally different city. So those are the only memories I recall of my father then. There's nothing much I can say about him except that he was a good dad, because every time he came home, he came with goodies and all of that. So definitely as a baby, I would take that as a parent who actually is good. After losing my father, so then we had to, life moved on, life must go on, definitely. And I grew up with my mother, who was a teacher. Still, no, my mother retired. She's no longer a teacher, but she has been a teacher her whole life. So I went to boarding school like most kids in Kenya. I joined boarding school when I was in class 4, all the way to class 8. After that, of course, I joined high school. I went to Marymount High School. And then after that, I joined campus, just like a regular kid, any regular kid. When I talk about my health, because this story is literally about my health. When I was in primary school, I could recall instances whereby I did receive special treatment because I was, quote unquote, a sickling. Basically, I could shower with hot water while everyone else was showering with cold water. And guys, it wasn't pretty privilege, because you should have seen me in primary school. Should have seen me in primary school. It was not pretty privilege. And I could get, whenever my mom came to visit, I'll be given more chances to see my mom as compared to other kids. And for that, I am eternally grateful. So I do recall instances of that. And then when I moved over to high school, I did study far away from home. So the instances of seeing my mom became lesser and lesser. And I just leaned on to the school nurse, basically, in case I had any health issues. Because I remember in high school, around when I was in Form 3, I did go ahead to suffer from pneumonia, because the school where I studied at, it was so cold. It was in Molo. Temperatures will drop all the way to 9 degrees. Pneumonia, is something that you can struggle with or battle with for quite a long time. It's not something that you can just take antibiotics and, heal off of it. So there was that instance back in high school. And then after that, I moved over to campus smoothly, really. Then I came to campus in Multimedia University. I think my time in campus was the best time. I always tell people, if I had to redo my campus life, I will do it the same exact way. I will not change a thing. I had a ton of fun in campus. I think I explored myself the most. I explored very many opportunities while I was in campus, so I will not change a thing about it. So fast forward, after joining campus, of course I studied journalism. As you can tell, I'm a very talkative person. I studied journalism in campus in MMU. Then after first year, second year, I was also a very active member of the drama club. In fact, so active that I became chairlady of the same club. And I think I had such a good time, exploring myself, exploring my talents and my creativity. I think that school gave me the chance to do that. So fast forward to third year. And if you did 844, definitely during your third year, that's when you're supposed to go and do your attachment, right? Or your internship, depending on the course that you're studying. That was in 2019. I managed to secure an internship, or rather an attachment at K24 Media House. And I was so excited for it. Oh my God, you should have seen me. Because every single person wanted to work for a big media house. You know, you want to work there, showcase what you have, so that in the hope that they will hire you in the end, right? All of us who are looking forward to working for these big media houses, you know, putting yourself out there, getting to explore stories that will actually make you stand out, meeting different people, all of that. And I was so looking forward to that. Matter of fact, I think I was among the best people in my class. To be honest with you, I was. I'm not even bragging. I really loved what I was studying, and I felt like it brought the best out of me. So after joining K24 Media House, I think the internship, or rather the attachment, was initially supposed to go for 3 months, after which, if you're done, then you go back to school, finish your studies, graduate, or if they absorb you, then the story could have been different from then on, right? So I did a month. And then towards the end of the second month, I started getting serious headaches. Like serious headaches, guys. And when I say headaches, I don't mean headaches on the frontal lobe of the head. I'm talking about the back of the head. Headaches where you feel like someone is just banging your head with a hammer. And it was so loud, yet it was so silent. I was the only one who could understand what exactly I'm going through. And you know, when you're having a headache and you're trying to explain to someone, I'm just having a headache, it's not a migraine, it's a strong headache. And people tend to downlook such, it's just a headache. You know, get a painkiller, get over it. You're probably overworked. You probably didn't take enough water. You've probably not eaten in a few days. Get yourself together. Just do the basics, then you'll be good to go, right? And when I say towards the end of the second month during my attachment, I mean like around maybe the 22nd of the second month during my attachment, I started getting it. So for the next 8 days, I took painkillers. I took a lot of water. I did those things that your friends just suggest. You know, you just need to eat. You just need to do that. And to be honest with you, I have been, as I said, I grew up as a sickling. So me and the hospital have basically been friends. But then when I was in campus, I started hating that experience. Like, I don't really want to have to go to hospital because of these few things. So that is why I stayed back for those 8 days. You know, someone could ask, why didn't you just seek medical attention immediately? Maybe prolonging those 8 days would have had an effect on your health, which honestly would have. There was a possibility of that. But then I had developed such a love-hate relationship with hospitals by then that I did not want to explore that option as my first option. So after 8 days, and it kept getting serious, I will get to work. I will not actually accomplish anything, just because I will find it hard to read scripts. I will find it hard to go out and find a story. And it was not looking good for me, because the people we were with, or rather the other interns, everyone was gunning for their own thing. So you cannot afford to fall back, especially you're working for K24. It was such a big thing then. It still is, I think, after they rebranded and all of that. And I was so grateful for this particular opportunity. I was like, okay, I really need to put my best foot forward. But here I am. I have constant headaches on a daily basis. It's not looking good. Anyone who works in corporate will let you know that your health is one of the things that you need to take care of. Because the moment you cannot produce what the company expects you to produce, or, you know, if you cannot work up to par, then you're basically useless to the company. They might give you grace. They might try to be there for you. But the bottom line will be you're not delivering what we had agreed on. So there is no point of us keeping you here. Otherwise, you will become a liability. So after those 8 days, I was like, you need to seriously get checked. So that's when I decided to, seek medical attention. And anyway, everyone around me was like, yeah, you took painkillers, you did this. And still no? Okay, now I think you need to actually get checked. I was like, yeah, definitely. So at that particular point, I had developed a friendship with a certain doctor. Her name is Charity. And I used to go to Meridian Hospital, just up at Nairobi West, right? So I decided, you know what, I'll just go see Charity. I'll just go have a checkup there. I could have gone to any hospital, honestly, but I was like, no, just go there. So when I went, they actually did extensive tests. They were like, first of all, you don't look sick. It's just a headache. But after explaining that, oh, well, there is this, I have done this. Okay, then after doing a couple of tests, they were like, all right, I honestly think that apparently my white blood cells, they had such a low count in the body, such that if I was trying to fight disease, because the white blood cells are the ones that do that, or fight any infections, then there was basically no soldiers to do that in the body. Actually, to mark the doctor's words, she was like, I do not understand how you are still walking, because she was like, it's such a low count that this headache, or rather this infection that is in your body, they're not telling me exactly what is going on. They're just saying you do not have enough soldiers in your body to fight this particular, invasion or attack. And the fact that you are able to actually walk and talk and you are here seated with me, it should not have happened. By now, you should have been probably admitted somewhere else. Like, okay. So after that, then I had to call my mom. I had to call my mom now, because the situation was that you need to be admitted immediately. You can't afford to go home. You can't afford to go back home. Let's say we prescribe antibiotics or anything of that sort. If you know how Meridian, it's a private hospital. And to be honest with you, private hospital rates are higher than public hospital rates. So, and the doctor, she was kind enough to be honest with me when it came down to, okay, if we admit you here today, the charges are going to be extensively higher. So you have an option of seeking medical attention in another hospital, which will be more affordable to me. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So that's when I called my mom, because I remember that time my boyfriend had taken me to that hospital. So after weighing my options, after calling my mother was like, yeah, you guys need to actually find another hospital, because those rates will be higher and I don't want to get into medical debt, right? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And considering my mother is a single mother, I feel like if she was in a position to actually take up the financial, task for me to be in that hospital, she would have. But at that particular point, we had to make a financial decision. So we ended up opting for another hospital, which is a missionary hospital. And that is how I ended up at St. Mary's, Langata. So we literally took a cab on that same day from Meridian all the way to Langata, right? And once I arrived there, because my mom and also the doctor had actually suggested, oh, that was a good hospital. So we did go there. So after I got admitted, everything became blurry. There is nothing much that I could recall in terms of memory. I just remember I got admitted. I got put under medication. After a while, because now remember, I've stopped going for my internship. I've stopped reporting for my internship. A few days in, my friends are like, what is going on? Why aren't you coming to work? There's this and this and this. Apart from my work friends, I had also friends from school. I also had friends from home, and they were like, what is going on? We've not seen you. And I'm such a huge social media person. I stopped posting. When your friends actually realize something could be wrong, there's something wrong. And that's when people started checking up on me. And when I tell you it was a blur, I actually mean it was a blur. I don't know what I had been diagnosed with by the time I got there, because I was the patient. And actually, after I got admitted at St. Mary's Langata, my mother traveled all the way from Kisii to Nairobi just to see me. And that is one of the things that I am eternally grateful for, because I did need her support at that particular point. I had stayed in hospital for about 15 days now. I am under medication. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite clear with the medical terms, but I remember the medication that I was under. It was drip medication. I wasn't taking tablets. I wasn't doing any of that. It was drip medication. And that drip will last the whole night. It was some yellow liquid. I honestly cannot remember what it was, but that is the most I could gather from my memory. You can imagine being on drip for the whole night. Unless you're like unconscious, you're unconscious to the sense that you don't know what is happening around you. But then after like 15 days, 14 days, that's about 2 weeks, that's when I started getting conscious. I'm like, okay, when I'm on drip, and it used to happen at night, like for a full 12 hours, it used to happen at night. When I'm on drip, I get uncomfortable. Now I'm actually awake, I'm conscious, I'm feeling it. And I'm like, I don't need this. I need to get this thing off of me. And that is when now I started asking questions and asking relevant questions, because now I'm slowly getting back into it, into reality. When it got to that, when I asked questions, that is when I was told I have been diagnosed with kidney failure. And I'm not a medical student by any chance, and I really don't know what goes into getting diagnosed with kidney failure. What I know is, or rather what I knew then, was kidney failure is such a hectic diagnosis in terms of treatment, in terms of me as a person, the mental, I don't want to say torture, I think it gets to you mentally as a person, leave alone your family, leave alone your friends, leave alone the finances, because there is dialysis, there is that, and it's expensive. This is not something that could be cheap. So in my head, I'm like, what could have possibly led to kidney failure? Is it kidney stones? And I had watched movies at that particular point. I had a perspective of what kidney failure should look like or should sound like. And I'm like, I'm peeing just fine. Because most people who've had kidney failure, they have a problem peeing. I was like, I just had a feeling, really? Is it kidney failure? But I could not question doctors because, again, by the time I arrived there, I was in such an unconscious state that I didn't have much to say for myself. So my mother basically handled most of it, and my boyfriend at that time, they handled most of it. The admission process, all of that. I also remember a couple of my cousins coming to see me. My aunt came to see me during those first days of admission. Fast forward, during the third week of admission, I had my best friend come in. My best friend, her name is Lorraine. Honestly, for me as a person, I will say growing up, I have thrived more in friendships. And she was studying at Maseno University at that particular point. So she traveled all the way from Maseno to Nairobi just to check up on me because I had been admitted for 3 weeks now. It has never happened before. I have never been admitted in hospital before, just to be clear with you. Yes, I have gone for checkups. Yes, I have been a sickling, but I had never gotten to a point where I had been admitted for more than a week even. So when she came in, and given that she is a medical student, a very brilliant one at that, by the way, and she recently graduated. Congratulations, Lorraine. Yeah, she recently graduated. She's out there now. But then she was still a medical student. So when she came in, I feel like she did her own diagnosis. She was like, something is not adding up here. Something is definitely not adding up here. And at that time, I'm slowly regaining consciousness. So we did have a chat about it. She was like, something is not adding up here. And she didn't have I don't want to say the bravity to tell the doctors, but it was more like, if you're qualified and I'm just a mere student, for me to come up to you and say, I don't think something is going right here. I mean, your opinion it has an upper hand as compared to mine as a student. So she didn't directly bring it to the doctors. Instead, she brought it to me and my mother. And Lauren was like, I think something is terribly wrong. And I think you should switch hospitals. She didn't want to directly say, I think she has been misdiagnosed. I don't think this is the medication she should be getting. Because as much as I was regaining consciousness, I was getting worse in terms of feeding. Because every time I would feed, I would end up puking all the food, right? And I was not quite understanding what it is. I was getting thinner and thinner. I was getting malnutrition. And remember, I'm on drugs, very strong drugs for that matter. So the fact that I'm getting treatment, yes, I'm regaining consciousness, but if you looked at me, you'd be like, no, you're actually getting worse. In truth, you are getting worse. And then I remember towards the 4th week, that is when I started losing my memory. And it was so sad. To be honest with you, it was such a sad thing. And at that particular point, I think my sister also had come in. She had left Kisii, because we live in Kisii, born and raised in Kisii, right? She had left Kisii and moved over to Nairobi. She was like, okay. And the fact that I could barely recall my family members. You understand, these are people I have grown up with. These are people I know. I know my sister's working style. If my sister was working out there, I'd be like, yep, that's her. You understand? For me not to be able to recall, I had friends visit from campus. And I could not recall names. I'd be like, I know you. You are familiar, but I still don't know you. I can't. Like, people will come, they will have me, they'll be like, Vivian. I'm like, I know you, but I don't know you, ma'am. I don't know you, sir. I cannot recall who you are. I started losing memory of basic things. Because I remember there's this time, my sister had brought me fruits, right? She had cut fruits into slices, and it was an orange. So I was trying to have the orange, and then it had seeds. So I just didn't want that. I was like, I want oranges that don't have seeds. And I said soids instead of seeds. And my sister's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't want soids in my oranges. And my sister was like, what exactly do you mean? And I said it like 3 times. It's like it had not even clicked in my head that you're saying this word wrong. I was 100% sure I'm saying it right. How are you not getting what I'm saying? And then I also recall, apart from losing my memory slowly and also forgetting the words of basic things, like a basin, because I remember I used to puke a lot. So I had like a bucket next to my bed just in case I wanted to puke. Like there was no time to get to the washrooms. Because you understand, if you've puked before, you understand how fast it comes. There's literally no time to get to a decent place to do it. So I forgot the word for a bucket, and it's something very basic. I should not be forgetting that. You understand? So after my best friend had a chat with my mom, I think it was agreed upon that she should switch hospitals. And my mom was actually debating about it because, to be honest with you, St. Mary's Langata is such a big hospital. It had such a good reputation at that particular time. And my mom was weighing her options. She was like, I think this is the best place that you should be in. So there was that doubt. But I think eventually they decided to move me over. But then, prior to moving me over, the things that I recall was, yes, first of all, I lost my memory. Second of all, I was not eating much. Third of all, I had a few of my friends coming in to visit and just check up on me and all of that. I remember my mom had stayed with me the whole time. She could literally sleep in the hospital. I remember my boyfriend at that point was working, but she made a point of coming to see me every single day at hospital. So, fast forward. The next time I'm waking up, or rather the next time I'm opening my eyes, I'm in an all-white room. It is so white that I'm like, maybe I'm in heaven. Guys, for a moment there, I was like, I'm in heaven, guys. I'm not on earth anymore. It was so white. The lights, everything was just so white. The sheets, everything was just so white. And I'm a Christian, guys. There's this perspective that I have of heaven and what it looks like and what it might be, In my head, I was like, maybe I died and maybe I'm already in heaven, And then I decided to just tilt my head and look on the side. I'm like, oh, there was another room that was just as white as mine. It was just as lit up as mine. And I just stayed there. I think I don't know how much time I took, but I wanted to soak in the moment. I was like, okay. What exactly is going on? After a few minutes, I think, then a doctor walked in. He was also like in a white lab coat and all of that. He was a guy. For that particular doctor, I don't think I recall his name. He was a guy. And when I saw him, I just immediately closed my eyes. I was like, okay. I don't want him to think that I'm already awake. But I also want to know, then another doctor walked in. So I was trying to listen to what they're talking about. Like I was trying to pretend I'm still asleep, but I was trying to also listen to what they're talking about. And then the doctor had apparently already seen me. She was like, yeah, she's awake. I was like, okay. Why are you hiding? Just open your eyes. I ended up opening my eyes. Like, hi, Vivian, how are you? We're happy you've woken up and all of that. And I'm like, okay. And then now I think because he saw the confusion on my face, and I think he took the time to explain exactly what had happened. He was like, you're in ICU right now. Thank God you've woken up. You've been under medication for this long. And yeah, so right now we're going to let your mom come in and talk to you. So my mom came in. My mom literally wailed. Like, when you are happy, but you're also crying. So it comes out as you're in pain, but it's out of so much happiness. Because my mom was like, she's finally awake. And then she sat next to me and we talked. She was like, are you hungry? I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. I just want oranges. Oh my God, I think I ate a lot of oranges when I was sick. And to date, it's still my favorite fruit. I'm like, I want oranges. And Maki's not, I don't want orange juice. I want oranges. So she will sit next to me. She'll peel oranges for me. And then I remember that same day that I woke up, I had like 20 people from school come see me. My classmates, literally. And because I was in ICU, the movement from, how many people are supposed to see her at a certain time, is it like hygienical for her to be seen by so many people from outside? Is it okay? And I honestly got overwhelmed because I spent hours and hours talking to people. People are like, oh my God, you've woken up. Oh my God. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So then that's when I had my best friend now narrate everything to me. She was like,
catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. Next week, we learn what comes next after waking up in ICU. I can't even imagine how traumatic that is. My goodness. Oh, my word. And then also just the confusion, the not knowing, where am I to begin with? before even what's wrong with me, where the heck am I? And so part 2 is going to be out next week on Monday. I don't want to share too much because I might give you spoilers about next week's part. So I'm just going to zip my mouth, which is the hardest thing to do for someone like me who talks so much. But on our Instagram, we're going to be sharing pictures of our storytellers in the thick of their stories. So this week we will be sharing behind the story pictures of Vivian with her support system, her bestie, her mom. So make sure you follow our Instagram. A link to it is in the show notes. And I can't wait for you to listen to part 2. It's just such a powerful story. Trust me. You want to be here next week for that. And speaking of powerful stories, if you have a powerful one and you want to share it, you're African, we want to hear your story. We've got correspondence now, so we record stories all year round. All you have to do is I don't know why I sang that. I don't know what's happening. Is fill out our storyteller form. A link to that is in the show notes. Fill it out and we will get back to you. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. Sometimes we record stories virtually, not sometimes, quite a few times. So sign up, let us know a bit about the story, and then leave the rest to us. Make sure if you are in East Africa, you catch us on Trace FM every Monday, Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. Fridays we're there at 1 p.m. And you can go to traceradio.co.ke to stream. Yes. I am going to leave you with, I think I'm just going to give you more grace. Honestly, I think I got either a comment or someone in person told me how they were listening to the podcast at a point where things were not going so well for them. And they used to wait until the end of the episode for me to give grace. And sometimes I really underestimated how important that is to say. And so now I've kind of gotten back to that, and it's very intentional. And when I say it, it's not just wrapping up the episode. I truly, truly wish you all the grace there is to help you navigate whatever season it is you're going through, navigate whatever decisions it is you're trying to make, navigate whatever habits or cycles you're trying to break. I'm just sending you tons of grace. Until next week, when I'll have more grace for you. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.